We're going to record this one and the time that it takes me to drink a beer. When I started up doing web design full time, I didn't know exactly where to start marketing. I was like everybody else. I've got no portfolio. I've got nothing to show off. I know I could do it. I know I want to do it. But if anybody were to say, why should we use you? I've got no answers. The thing I found that really helped for me was some online course. I can afford, but I did it anyway. And they put forward the notion of the ridiculous offer. It's a good concept. It's a good concept as long as you are at the embryonic startup phase, okay? If you're already an established web designer, this bit's not going to help you. Probably, depending on how it's going. But the ridiculous offer is the concept that you offer a service that is so cheap and such good value for money that you would actually be ridiculous to say no. So the first website I sold was a 4-page hand-coded HTML website built for a template that I got from Envato. And I sold that for 150 quid. A full website. It took me ages to do it. I completely lost money on that. But how I landed that first client with no portfolio was things like this. Your local village book. It's going to sound nuts, but stick with me. If you don't know what these are, parish magazine, village book, I don't know what they're called wherever you are, but they're a local page. It's a local book for local people, and it is full of local adverts. All of these people advertise in your local area. If you are local to these people, well, if they are local to you, you are local to them. Look through your village book, look through your parish magazine, look through the local newspaper, look through that big board that will be in your Chinese takeaway or outside the local hardware shop or something that's going to have loads of little local business cards and flyers stuck to it. Check those and make a note of everybody that you see. If you're out and about and you see a board of adverts up in the chip shop, take photos of them, okay? Because here's what you're going to do next. You're going to do your due diligence. So you've got now this huge list of potential customers that you've got for your book that you've seen out and about. You're going to compile them all in a big spreadsheet. And then one by one, you're going to go through and you're going to see, do they have a website? I mean, the big spreadsheet is an option if you're getting them from loads of sources. Honestly, if you're just going through the local village book, just go through the local village book one by one. Check every single person. Do they have a website? Do they have a phone number? Do they have a Facebook page? When I say do they have, I don't mean in their advert. I mean, do they have one? There's no point phoning somebody up, say, do you want a website? And they say, we just got a new one last month. What are you talking about? You need to keep an eye out for people who are still using Gmail addresses or AOL addresses or at yahoo.com for a professional thing. Straight away, it suggests they don't have a website because they don't have an email with their domain name on it. The very first customer I got, as I say, I got it through the village book in this way. I went through them all, and then I found all of them that didn't have a website. And then I found a few that had a branded email address but didn't have a website. And one of these, I sent a message to everybody, but I sent a guy a message and said, look, seen your advert in the local book. I can see you have an at your domain email address, but you don't have a website. Why is that? My price is 150 quid, and I'll build your website to go with your domain. Job's good. I'm doing a local discount for local people. Is that going to work? He emailed back saying, I've had the domain for years. Thanks. I know, don't really want a website. Don't need a website, but thank you for getting in touch. I was like, okay, fair enough. I replied back, said, thank you. That's absolutely fine. If you ever need me, you know where I am. 2 days later, he emailed me back and said, you know what? I've got the domain and that price is too good to say no to, so we may as well do it. So that's how I got my very first sale. Once you've got one, it opens the doors. Once you've got something that you can show off and say, yeah, I built this for these guys, you've got that in. From the local village book, I got my first 2 or 3 customers, I think. I got my next few by advertising in the local village book. And at this stage, I was charging as high as £199 for a website. It's 2019. This was before COVID. This was a few months before COVID here. So I started just at the right time for low-cost websites. So I cannot stress enough that you need to find local adverts for local people and you need to go through it. It's boring, okay? It takes time. You have to go through and find 500 different companies. You're going to have to search them all up. You're going to have to look to see, do they have contact details? Can I actually speak to these people? And then you're going to have to email them or even better, phone them. You're going to get told no. You're going to get told, I don't want a website. You're going to get told, what's the point of me having a website? I don't need it. I'm busy. But then you'll get told yes. And I also got to build a really cool, at its time, photography website for a local photographer. She actually wasn't advertising in it. She had an article in the local village book about her photography. And I looked, and her website was horrific. So I emailed her and said, look, well, I'm a Facebook messenger, and said, I really love the photos that I've seen that you put in the village book. I loved your article. However, your website's letting you down. That was the next client I got. And I still speak to her quite regularly, and that was years ago. There are people out there that don't necessarily realize they need a website. So you can't just sit here waiting for people to contact you, because they're not going to. You need to be contacting them. Speaking of local stuff, Facebook pages. There will always be a local Facebook page near you for your estate, for your cul-de-sac, even for your village. If there isn't one, start one today. Put a flyer through everybody's door. You can print something out on your A4 printer at home or at work or wherever you have a printer, and cut them up, and you just say, local Facebook group, go here, I'll accept you. You then, if one doesn't already exist, you create your own one in that way. I did it. It took me about 2 hours work, and then I was admin of a several hundred people group. You can then advertise in that group. Local groups, there will always be people saying, can you recommend a plumber? Can you recommend an electrician? If there isn't anyone saying it, you say that. Can anyone recommend a good local electrician? Because then everyone will start tagging all the local electricians and their Facebook pages, and boom, you've got round 2 of discovery. You can then go through, this electrician, does they have a website? No, he doesn't have a website. Let me contact him. This electrician, does he have a website? No, and he's using a Gmail address, so he definitely hasn't got anything. Let me contact him. That again is lead fishing. You go into the group and you say, has anybody got recommendations for an amazing local beauty therapist? Boom. 18 different companies will all get recommended. And then you just go through them and you contact them. And most of them will say no, but if you get one, you get one. It is down fighting in the trenches at this point when you're starting up trying to get leads. But it's doable. It just takes work, and that's why most people don't do it. That is assuming you are doing low-cost websites. I've never tried to do that for high-cost websites, but theoretically, it could still work. It's just you would need a better in than the ridiculous offer. The whole point of the ridiculous offer is that it is so low cost you can't turn it down, which is great. But then when you're having to spend so much time building the website, actually you lose money on it, which you're going to do to begin with, but once you're up and running, it's not so great. So the websites that I build now, they're probably not in that bracket. I could try it again. There's no harm in it, I suppose, but for the lower cost websites, which I assume is what you're talking about at this point, that is exactly what you want to be charging. And that is where you need to be looking. You need to be looking at local businesses, local services that potentially need educating on the benefits of having a website. You could just have a website that you've had for 5 years and it's got your email address on it. Or you could have a website that's actually going to bring some money in as well. So part of your challenge is advertising. Hang on, more beer. And not just advertising what you do, but advertising the benefit of what you do. You are offering a service. And the problem with offering a service is there's nothing tangible. People can't take that information and hold it like they could take this tub of chocolate and hold it, or this mug and hold it. When you buy something and you get something, it's a physical thing and you can move on and you're happy. When you pay for something, nothing seems to change. It just seems like a waste. The most annoying thing in my life is when I have to take a car to a garage, pay 300 quid and then drive away and nothing feels different. It's like, what just happened? 300 quid being stolen from you, it feels like, and nothing's changed. But you know something has been done and you know it was something that needed to be done. And although there's no tangible benefit to you up front, you needed to pay for it. And that's the problem. That is the disconnect that people are going to have between what you're offering and what you're selling. What you should be selling is a marketing tool that is going to help them make money. What you should not be selling is a website, because website, people switch off. People think website, yeah, I know what a website is. Yeah, I've got a website. I'm not listening to it. You start talking about what I'm selling is a marketing strategy whereby you will constantly be engaging with new clients and you'll have a constant stream of incoming leads and inquiries. That is what you're selling. You are selling that control over their online presence. You are selling the front of their shop. You are selling their office. You are selling their expertise. You are selling their knowledge to potential people. You are not just putting their name on an internet page. To every client you do that to, you're doing them a disservice. That's all. It's their own fault. And the reason it's their own fault is because they won't pay what they need to pay for a website that will actually do them the work. So sell them the 200 quid website. Say, you might want to consider a new one in the future. This will tide you over. If they don't want to spend the money, they don't want to spend the money. I've had people that I do pitches for sites that what they're asking for should cost 8 or 9 grand, and they were like, I wasn't going to spend more than 300. It's like, right, okay, we're done. Bye. That's why I've improved my pitching process. But yeah, what you need to do is contact local companies, local services. Depending on where you live, the village, the town, whatever, go to the training estates. Look at the businesses around you. Look at the shops on your high street, the independents. Look around at the opportunities of business. Okay, it's hidden. There'll be this massive training estate you didn't know existed behind somewhere you go all the time that will have multi-million-pound companies in it. It's really weird once you start getting into this world and seeing what's out there. But you need to start local because you've got that local angle. Because the people that are going to pay 200 quid for a website are going to want to meet you. They're going to want to know where you work, because in their head, they need to know where you are, because it's still something they need to go to get it done. People want a locally based web designer when they are paying a certain budget. I don't know why, but they do. They feel like you're going to rip them off. So what you need to do is reassure them that the reason you're low cost, you're doing them a favor, and you are just starting up. You are just starting selling them. You can say, don't say I'm starting up, because people think you don't know what you're doing. You can say I'm just starting to sell websites now in addition to what else I was doing. But the money's out there. It's in dribs and drabs at this stage, but once you start getting them in, you can start raising prices. Contact every local company you can find that doesn't have a website, or that has a really bad website, or there's a copyright year at the bottom of their website's wrong, or that they're using a Gmail email address, not an @mydomain.com email address. Tell them the benefits of it, tell them the virtues of it, tell them why they need to look into it and change that pretty quick. Assuming you are then looking to the next step, you need to start networking. So you need to start attending local networking events like BNI, like 4N, like B2B networking. There's loads. Depending where you live, depending on your local area, there will be local ones. Chamber of Commerce, do some good events. Whether you need to be a member, I don't know. I don't know what the benefits are for this sort of size. And then FSB do some as well. Local council as well, they often put some on. We need to start going to that circuit. So it's early morning breakfasts. It's going there to extol the virtues of what you do. So again, you don't make websites, you create a lead generation system for them, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, networking works. It's a bit culty and it's hard work and it's early mornings, but you get to meet some cool people. You get to meet all kinds of businesses you didn't know exist. And what you got to remember is you're not trying necessarily to sell to the people that are standing there in front of you. You are trying to sell to the people that they know. So that when they have a friend who says, my website's broken, they know someone and they refer you. That's how it works. And you'll do it back for them. Not saying you need to be an electrician, but if they say, oh, I need an electrician, and you know one from networking, oh, well, yeah, phone John. He's really good. People know people. That's how it works, is referral networking, referring them to each other. So yeah, that can work. Again, it doesn't tend to work in my experience for the higher end. There's a ceiling of a couple of grand you can kind of charge at networking. You will get the odd company in there that talks really big bollocks about how much money they've got, but if they're doing poor people networking, they're probably not turning over billions. And that kind of networking is poor people networking. So if you're doing that, it's fine. But don't think you can go in and say, I charge 10 grand per website, because you're not going to get any. If you're charging up to 2,000-3,000, you'll get something. You'll get enough to cover it anyway. But once you get the exciting thing, if you're not there yet, is getting that first customer that pays 4 figures. So you start at 200 quid, then 500 quid, then 750 quid. Hang on then. And the next customer, you're like, yeah, it's going to be £1,000. They'll be, okay. Oh, cool. And then you realize, okay, so it's 2,000. Oh, so it's 4,000. You won't get as many, but the ones you get pay more because they do. And then rather than churning out templates and crap stuff, you can start developing and you can start learning and actually investing more in your time and your experience so that you're building better websites, because you need to be able to justify the higher price tag, and it levels up in that way. So village book, and then you go to networking. So I actually wrapped that up well before I finished the beer, but that is what I did. And that is how I've got to where I am now. I get referral work through from some people. I do a little bit of networking when my family and health allows. But yeah, spend a year or two really hitting the networking targets, the networking groups, go to as many as you can, meet as many people as you can. And from that, you will kind of get a core group of people that you can trust, that you know that are going to recommend you and send you work when it comes through. So that is how I started. That's how I found my first clients. Pretty confident that's how you can find them too. Local book, local Facebook groups, either make one or join them, And then after that, you need to start doing some networking. If the budget allows, you want to do PPC and SEO and all that stuff, but it is such a competitive marketplace. Frankly, there's no point spending money on CPC at this point. And again, I speak from experience on that one. You don't get anything from it. The amount that you've got to spend, like 200 quid, you're not going to compete with the local churn them out factory down the road. It's just not going to happen, and you're not going to compete with Wix and all that lot. So don't even waste your money. Spend your time on Facebook and spend your time on LinkedIn and spend your time face-to-face networking with people. And that's how it'll work. But before you do any of that, spend your time in your local village book. And here's some Brucey bonus post-edit content. Get a Blue Peter badge, okay? Because I know for a fact you would have been looking at it at some point in the last 15-minute presentation, and it is such an icebreaker at networking in the UK. You got a Blue Peter badge. Make up how you got it. I bought this on eBay. This is like the third one I've had because the others get worn out. Get a Blue Peter badge and wear it to networking, and I guarantee you it will be a conversation starter with people that potentially otherwise you wouldn't have got to talk to.